Hi, everyone. So today we're going to talk about environmental factors related to health promotion, and this is really important when you're performing a wellness exam on someone. So introduction, influences on healthy environments are essential for all people, right? So we need to consider the air people breathe, the water we drink, the food you eat, that is a huge one, your home and work setting, the politics that you're in, and the economy. And you think, oh my gosh, how does this all affect health? Well, this is probably one of the more impactful issues that gets overlooked in health in general. So we already know air is pretty obvious, right? You breathe polluted air, you're going to have a lot more problems. High risk for cancer, COPD, asthma, behavioral issues. Water, sometimes we don't appreciate because we live in the United States, and especially if we're all living in big cities, having access to clean drinking water is not always a problem. In more rural areas, we still see that, especially in the Appalachian areas. But for most of the world, developing countries, fresh drinking water is a constant problem. Um, and then we talk about the food we eat. Is there enough food? Is the type of food we're eating um, nourishing our bodies? Is it now causing health issues? In the United States, it's not about not having enough food, although 1 in 4 children in the United States go hungry every day. But the type of food we're eating is literally killing us. And then home and work environment. Are you in a safe work environment? Do you work with a lot of chemicals that could put you at risk for diseases? Do you work in a hazardous area that could put you at risk for injury? Is your home safe? Do you have shelter? Is it emotionally safe? Is it physically safe? Are the people that you live with abusive? Political issues. So thinking in terms of, well, there's lots of aspects you could consider. If you look globally, that's pretty easy. Think about people right now in Syria, in Somalia, being stuck between these political fights that affect your health, obviously. Suicide bombings are bad for the health, and that's not a joke, it's true. And then even politics in the United States with racial tensions running at a high, issues with undocumented people, that's going to affect health, and then the economy. Poverty and poor health go hand in hand. If people aren't working, if the economy is low, if the economy is unstable, likely there is going to be health instability as well. So those are all aspects of an environment, and healthy air, water, food, home, work, politics, and economy will again help promote health. And if they're all unhealthy, it's going to promote unhealth. Okay? So problem identification, environmental health hazards. So we think about toxins, carcinogens, mutagens that basically mutate your cells to do something it's not supposed to do, and teratogens are things that cause birth defects. So environmental health risks, we do those, obviously individualized, but then there's also something called disease clusters and the role of epidemiology. And so an example of epidemiology is the study of disease, prevalence, why it happens, who's more likely to have it, incidence of the disease, and new cases, old cases. When you look at disease clusters, it tells you a lot, mainly about environmental impacts. So thinking about Flint, Michigan, and their poor drinking water, and all these children having lead poisoning and severe anemia and cancer clusters. And that was discovered through epidemiology and disease cluster. In Camden, New Jersey, looking at asthma exacerbations and asthma outcomes and coding it using geocoding and finding 2 zip codes and specifically 1 or 2 apartment sites that turned out to have very terrible mold. All right, so that's how one way we use problem identification. And then there's the 4-step EPA model of risk assessment. So this delineates potential environmental hazards, it delineates dose response, and it estimates exposure and determines seriousness of harm and susceptibility of population, right? So when they talk about building new companies and maybe there's potential toxic environments, there's always an environmental study that's done. So For example, uh, x-rays, working in a radiology clinic. Think about the dose that you're exposed to, and you're estimating how much exposure and what's the potential hazard of that, and then determine the serious of harm and susceptibility of others in the population. I want you to watch this video on environmental impact in nursing. And I also want you guys to look up just some EPA information too. It's really helpful.
I guess my biggest environmental worry is probably pollution and maybe global warming.
Pesticides is pretty big.
Superbugs, the flu pandemic. There is a problem with climate change right now. I think it's all the things together.
People ask me what environmental health is, and I always have to go back to the definition that was put forward by the World Health Organization.
Environmental health deals with issues such as clean water, clean air,
and the impact of smoke, greenhouse emissions, toxins and carcinogens, and the health and well-being of people.
We're part of the ecosystem, really. What we do has an effect on the environment and vice versa.
It's such an important health issue, and the water is already lapping at our doorstep, if you like, and we really have to do something now.
It's one of the key issues facing nurses in healthcare in Canada today.
Just FYI, this is from Canada, just because Canadian nurses have led the way in environmental assessments.
Florence Nightingale in the 1800s, where what she saw was that if we are going to be effective at dealing with diseases, we have to be thinking about all the vectors that can cause disease, and we have to be thinking about making sure that we're minimizing exposure to disease from the environment.
There's been an enormous leap from the beginning of, I guess, this century through this past decade in what we know about environmental health and how the environment affects individuals' health. What's newer for us is thinking about sort of the larger macro kinds of environmental issues, whether that be climate change, which is so much in the media right now, or environmental hazards and environmental toxins and so on as a factor in illness and disease. I think that means that we have to be looking at different ways of working, I think, as nurses.
My biggest environmental worry is probably fresh water.
Global warming is one of the biggest concerns.
I would say pollution. Pollution, I think, yeah.
In the recent months, the Canadian Nurses Association did some focus groups with Canadians across the country.
I guess my biggest environmental worry is probably pollution.
It's what you eat, it's what you breathe, you do it every day.
They talked to us about air pollution and respiratory problems. They talked to us about toxic chemical exposure and problems with chronic disease and aggravating chronic disease and cardiac issues related to environmental risks. The public also told us that they believe that nurses need to play an even bigger role in dealing with and helping the public deal with what we now call environmental health issues.
I'd say pesticides and pollution that gets into our food is a big problem.
Nurses in surveys rank very high amongst the public's trust, and so that means they are listened to when they speak.
I think nurses have a really important perspective to bring to these issues. It's partly because of where we work and what we see through that work. Sort of surveillance function that nurses have in seeing some of the early indications of change that's happening, the implications of environmental changes on the population.
What motivates me to do this is an absolute conviction that it has to be that things
Okay, I gotta stop.